Hey, sir, Fadi. Good afternoon, Sabre Nation. You guys fired up about today's guest speaker? I'm a little fired up myself. It's not too often that you get the pinnacle of Air Force leadership to stop by your base and spend a little time talking to you. And obviously right here we got one component of the ultimate command team with the Secretary, Chief, and of course the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. So we're all here to listen to this guy, not me. So without any further ado, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force 18, Chief K. Wright.
All right, well, thank you, sir, for allowing Tanya and I. So if you haven't met my lovely wife, Tanya, she's sitting right here in the front row, a former alumnus of Spangdahlem. And but really, I want to say thank you and the command team for allowing us to come and spend a day with Sabre Nation. It's good to be back in USAFE. I had a fantastic time today. Obviously, I didn't get a chance to get out and see all of the airmen, but the parts that I did to see, I had a lot of fun. I got to fix a couple of things, and I really got to get a look. And be remiss if once again I didn't say thank you for all the love and support that you provide to me and my team. So I get an opportunity on occasion to see the memes and see some of the jokes and some of the other stuff. And I mean, it means a lot. It means a lot to me, and I know most of the recognition and credit goes towards me. But what's up, Ben? But I mean, I just have a phenomenal team, starting with my wife, Tanya, who really, really keeps me straight, and more importantly, helps take care of all of your families and all of those great programs that we do in the area of spouse development and so many other things. And then a few folks from my internal team are here. Chief Master Sergeant Manny Pinheiro, First Sergeant Special Duty Manager. And Master Sergeant Sean Welsh. We've been together for about 3 years now, so I just want to make sure you understand, along with that internal team, Chief Easton, your USAFE Africa Command Chief, and his wife Yolanda, this is a team effort. So I know, again, the credit comes to me, but I want to make sure you understand a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into trying to get this Air Force on the right track for each one of you. So thank you once again. So let's address a couple of things real quick. So there's a rumor being spread around about higher tenure, that the Air Force is considering extending higher tenure for staff sergeants from 15 to 20 years. You guys heard about that? You think it's a good idea? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's a good idea. Yeah, I'll take that one that I have back there. Yeah, absolutely, it's a good idea. We have a little bit more work to do. As all decisions that we make with respect to things of that nature, we like to do a little bit of data analysis. We want to make sure we do the correct research, make sure we understand the second and third order effects before we pull the trigger. Now, I do understand that at least now, you know, we just had the tech sergeant release, and we had some folks across our Air Force that make it, that'll be up against the timeline, and I very well understand that. The team back in the Pentagon wanted to wait until I returned on the 5th of August to sit down and talk through it. I told them to go ahead and do the research, send it to me. I'll provide my input. By no means is it my sole decision, but between myself and General Goldfein and the A1 staff and also the Vice Chief, we'll weigh in and we'll try to get a decision made here shortly. No promises that it'll be done quickly, but again, I think this is the right thing to do at this point in our Air Force, and so hopefully we can retain some of that experience, certainly in some of your career fields like maintenance and some of the other areas where we've been bleeding out for a little while. So it is a rumor, but to some extent is kind of true that we are attempting to push the higher tenure back. And we may even look at higher tenure for senior airmen, and maybe pushing tech sergeants higher tenure up to 22 years. Again, we have to make sure we understand the second and third order effects. The thing that I don't want to do is create a jam from a promotion standpoint. The longer we allow people to stay in, the fewer opportunities there are for promotion from the folks from the level below them. However, I think it'll be minimal. So again, we'll see. Just stay tuned. Hopefully, I've demonstrated, my team and I have demonstrated to you that we hear you, we're listening, and we try to get things across the finish line that have an impact on your lives and your careers. I thought I'd talk about a few other things, and I don't normally do this, but I got a note card. So I'm getting ready to turn 48 in a few days, and with age comes dementia and a whole bunch of other stuff. Last year we had, I can't remember, I think it was the 100th uniform board. So up to this point, you guys really cared about nothing with respect to the uniform board except OCPs and locks, I think. And now that we got all that stuff out of the way, an initiative that we had not talked much about is we're doing some work with female uniforms, specifically your blue uniform. So you gave us a lot of feedback. You don't like the little rubber bands and the pleats and some other things. So we're doing some wear tests to try to get that uniform right for you. This is a special interest item for General Goldfein, and so we'll continue to do that work. Bereavement leave. So we've gotten some feedback that if you have a family member who passes away and you have to go home and kind of take care of the house or take care of your siblings and get all that stuff squared away. I mean, this happens to the best of us. I lost my sister right before Christmas, my oldest sister, so I certainly understand. Wasn't that great of a challenge for me. I've been around for a while and I have other siblings, but for many of you, this can be quite a challenge with money and with time. And so we have an initiative going, we're doing some research, and we're trying to implement some bereavement leave, some non-chargeable leave / permissive TDY. So if you have an emergency in your family, or if you lose a family member, we'll be able to give you some time off to help get things squared away and get the rest of your family situated. Still, again, some more work to be done in that arena, but just another initiative, another single that we're trying to hit to make sure we take care of all of you. You may have seen last year we just increased, we actually doubled the opportunities for step promotions. So we were giving out about 98 or so stripes across the Air Force for step promotions, and we upped that to 180 this year. So we wanted every wing commander to be able to have at least one opportunity to give a step stripe. Some still have two, but being able to spread the love out through some of your GSUs and some of those other things. And I think we've gotten positive feedback from that. PT, so I get a lot of questions about the fitness test. Are we going to move toward this tiered fitness test? So if you're in Intel, or if you're in the dental clinic, or if you sit over here and you don't walk around that much, you know, what type of PT test should you have? You probably have heard about the Tier 2 fitness test that our battlefield airmen have went to, and the EOD is right behind them. You've probably heard me say before, fire and security forces are the only ones that should probably consider something different from the normal fitness test. No other plans to have the rest of the Air Force in some type of tiered, this is how much you sit, this is how much you stand, this is how much physical work you do, and so your fitness test needs to have this components. All the rest of us will maintain the same fitness test. You know, our fitness test is designed to assess your basic level of health and fitness, and it is based on science, and I think we got it about right. There's probably some tweaks that we need to make. I personally think all of us only need to test once a year, and I know some of you disagree. There's probably a school of thought that says if we don't test you, if you score 84 and we don't test you again this year, you're going to turn into a big fat blob of Snicker bars and to that, and I'm not sure that I buy into the actual act of testing improves fitness. But I do buy into, and I know for a fact that we spend about 1.5 million man hours a year across the Air Force just administering fitness tests. The tests themselves and all the hand jamming you have to do into anthems and all that. So we've kind of already given commanders, wing commanders, the authority to allow squadron commanders to pull those the fitness testing back into the squadrons, and hopefully we'll get to that soon. I think we can trust squadron commanders with some very lethal weaponry. We can probably trust them to make sure people are fit and healthy. So those are about the only changes you'll see with fitness tests. We have another initiative in the family arena with joint custody assignment intent codes. And so this is for, you know, the family dynamics in America, and so the family dynamics in the Air Force are ever changing. Not every couple that's are co-parenting are actually married. And so we want to be able to give those individuals who are co-parents, who were never married or who were married and got a divorce, at least an opportunity to be assigned together so that they can raise their child together. Again, a little bit more work to be done in this arena, but just think the same as a joint spouse code, a joint custody code, to allow some of those parents to be in the same place. And you guys know about the reduction in additional duties, the Squadron Innovation Fund, so I'm excited about that, all the great things that'll come out of that. Probably the last thing that I'll talk to you about is BOP, Basic Preference for our first-term airmen. So we've revised that process. You know, before BOP was kind of really just a shot in the dark. You really had no idea what base is open. You just would kind of have to apply and say you wanted to go to Hawaii or Minot or wherever it is that you like really desired to be. And now, so we're starting a test with about 7 different AFSCs. We'll advertise, hey, here are the actual bases that are open, the places that's available for you to go, allow you to fill out your paperwork, and then try to match you to, within 2 weeks, match you to the actual place that has an opening that you're available to go. So just trying to bring a little bit more purposefulness and being deliberate to at least one of our talent management, performance management programs. Every day, every single day, you know, I'm working on something for each one of you. Again, I don't have everybody ask me, hey, what's the next big thing? You know, there's not a next big thing for us, not that I know of, but I like this idea of all of these small things ultimately and eventually adding up to more time for you to get after the mission. And I saw some wonderful parts of your mission. As a matter of fact, let me orient myself. No, we were in the phase hangar. I actually got to spend a little bit of time on one of these jets this morning. Just like a little bit of time. And so I know exactly you know, how busy you are, and so anything that we can do to give you time back to do the things that are important to your mission, I like to be able to do that. I know this becomes a little bit repetitive as you hear me speak in different places, but with that time, I want you to take care of training and being really, really good at executing your SEED mission and all the other missions that you do here in the 52nd Fighter Wing and Team Spangdahlem. I want you to spend time taking care of your teammates. I want you to spend time taking care of yourselves and your families. Life is busy for all of us, and I full well understand that. But there are some things that we can do, and we have a responsibility as a leadership in the United States Air Force to try to clear out additional duties, CBTs, unnecessary requirements, and so on and so forth. But then you have to do your part. You have to make sure you take care of you. You know, I was telling a group of people today about this theory that I've really bought into of, man, you have to put your mask on first. My team and I, Tanya and I, we drove over here, we flew over here from Dulles to Frankfurt, and on our way over, when we got on the plane, the flight attendant showed us how to put our seatbelts on, and then she showed us how to take it off. And after that, she said, if this cabin loses pressure, a mask will drop down, and you should do what? Put your mask on first. Why? Yeah, if you don't take care of you, man, you can't take care of them. And so I want to make sure that each one of us, in our attempts to be good airmen, in our attempts to be good wingmen, in our attempts to be good technicians in our specific AFSCs, that we take some time to take care of ourselves. And I don't mean in a selfish manner, so don't walk away on a Friday afternoon saying, well, Chief Wright said I ain't got to worry about it. Hey, I got to take care of me, man, so you're on your own. If you want to take care of them, if you want to take care of your family, if you want to take care of your airmen, if you want to be a good wingman, you have to take care of you. And that begins with the basics, our comprehensive airman fitness pillars. You got to take care of yourself physically. You got to put the right things in your body. You have to get the right amount of sleep. You got to find time. You got to make time to exercise and stay fit. It doesn't matter if you're a SEER specialist, if you're an EOD guy who spends tons and tons of time out and about moving, or if you sit at a computer all day. The studies show that being physically fit improves your mental acuity and so many other things. And so there's reason that we all need to do the right thing. And I'm not up here saying, you. This is something that I'm very conscious of, that I had not done a good job of for really 27 and a half years, right? So just in a year and a half, my wife has helped me really get serious about, and I still struggle today with going to bed on time and getting the right amount of sleep. I mean, some of these things sound very basic, but I'm telling you, these things are important to making sure that you take care of you physically, make sure you take care of you mentally, spiritually, make sure you connect to something that's much bigger than yourselves, and then socially. Make sure you have a group of friends that can help you navigate this thing we call life. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I saw some incredible feats of teamwork throughout this wing today, and I hope that extends beyond the time that you're on duty. This is a great assignment, and I know a lot of people enjoy it, but I imagine that like any other overseas assignment, there are some challenges, and some people may be struggling a little bit with this assignment. And so hopefully you're doing everything that you can to help each other out. All right, so you kind of understand where I'm coming from, the things that I'm working on for each one of you. Let me see if there's anything else I can put to rest. Warrant officers. So we've been talking about this warrant officer thing for a while. We've done a little bit of data, still some more research to go. I'll just give you my professional and honestly my personal opinion. Do I think we would ever bring warrant officers back into the Air Force? I don't see it within the next 10 to 15 years, to be honest. It's not that I don't see the utility in having a program, certainly in contracting and ISR and a lot of other places, but we already have airmen that are capable of performing those duties. In some cases, lieutenants, in some cases, tech sergeants, master sergeants, senior master sergeants, and so on. I also don't see, I sit in the building, in the Pentagon. I don't see a huge appetite. When I'm in the building, I see a lot of people walking around talking about a lot of stuff. Modernization, innovation, acquisition, revitalizing squadrons, and so on. So I don't see anybody walking around talking about, man, as soon as we get them warrant officers, we're going to be great. Right? So sometimes I can, my spidey sense kicks in and says, hey, this might work for us, but I'm not sure that the support broadly across the Air Force is there. We'll keep working, we'll keep looking at it, and we'll remain agile and flexible. And if it's something that we really feel we need to become a more agile, a more flexible, a more effective warfighting force, then perhaps one day we'll implement this. What I think we should do in the meantime, and I'll talk specifically about for our enlisted airmen, what I really think we should do in the meantime is create a culture that really, really values the guy who decides, man, I want to stay on this jet for the rest of my life. Mostly, if you're on this jet and you make tech sergeant or master sergeant, you're going to end up back here somewhere drinking coffee and shuffling papers and doing 1206s and EPRs and other, albeit very, very important things, and taking on some leadership roles and other things. You don't really get many opportunities, I don't think, as a Master Sergeant, Senior Master Sergeant, and as a Chief to stay in your functional role. I really like the Marine Corps model. Now, by no means do I want to be a Marine. I respect my Marine brothers and sisters, but I do like their model. When you get to E7, you have to make a choice. Hey, I want to stay in a technical track, or I want to take on this leadership track. The reality is we kind of push everybody into a leadership track, whether you have the propensity to lead, whether you have a desire to lead, whether you're good at it or not. Frankly, we don't care. If you're a Master Sergeant, you know, this is what we need from you as a Master Sergeant. And so there really should be an opportunity for folks to stay in this track. And us, let's talk real for a minute, right? Let's not BS each other. It's not that we don't have folks that do that, but there's a certain percentage of the population that looks down on the person that says, hey man, I just want to be a technician. And so we kind of, on the low, force you to go into something that maybe you're not really that interested in, and frankly, you may not be that good. Not every airman, I don't care how many leadership classes, books, opportunities, PEZs, whatever you go to, everybody's just not cut out to be a leader. And we actually probably do you, your organization, our Air Force a disservice when we pull you off the jet, or we pull you off the console, or we pull you off the gate, or whatever it is that you might be doing. And so as me and Chief Easton and the other senior chiefs across the Air Force, as we get together and think through, man, how do we create a system that says, hey, you can go this way and take on the leadership roles, or you can stay in this track and be valued the same and have the same promotion opportunities. You know, our Air Force is changing, the environment is changing, and we have to be willing to change with it. I know we're stuck in a lot of our ways. We like the things that we like. We're excited about, you know, some of the things. Another thing that we've been working on and trying to work through, enlisted promotions. You know, we created WAPS in 1968. How many of you were born in 1968? Many. We created it in 1968, a little bit of field testing, and we implemented it across the Air Force in 1970. Prior to 1968, all promotions for enlisted airmen were local. So if you were here at Spangdahlem, you competed against the people here, and it was great. If people knew you and loved you, you probably had a great opportunity for promotion. If not, then maybe you didn't. So we implemented WAPS, and in 1970, we needed a system like that. Now, I'm no math genius, but 70, 80, 90, 2000, well, I should have started with 2000, 2010, 2000, that's 48 years, man. We've been using the same system to promote people the same way. All I'm saying, in 2018, we probably need to figure out the most effective way to promote our airmen. So I'm working on it. As we transition to any questions that you might have, first, I found out yesterday, while speaking at the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, that I'm little leadership. So a guy asked a question, and he said, hey, is Air Force leadership thinking about, I don't remember what the question was, all questions kind of start with, is the Air Force thinking about, but he said, is Air Force leadership thinking about so-and-so? So I said, well, who is Air Force leadership? Are you talking about me? He said, no, I'm talking about like big leadership. So I was like, so as you think about whatever question that you might have, keep in mind, I'm just little leadership. Actually, You know, I always tease and say that because there's always kind of this aura of that there's the Air Force, right? It's me and General Goldfein and the CMSAF. And so I don't mind if you ask me directly, hey, K. Wright, are you thinking about implementing this, that, or the other, right? So now I'm going to turn this over to you and try to answer any questions that you might have about what we're doing in our Air Force, the direction we're going, if you like it, what you want to see done, better, different, more of, less of. And it's good to see some friends and old teammates in here. Sergeant Purrier, Sergeant Mitchell. I don't know if Stack is here, but I saw him earlier. My man. All right. Is Rico Bachelor here? Sergeant Bachelor from the FTD? Lee? What questions do you have for me? It is Friday. We can get out of here if you like.
Hey, you Chief. This is Senior Airman Briard from the Great Warhawk Nation of 480th Fighter Squadron. I'm asking from an intel analyst side, where is the next conflict in your professional opinion?
Where is the next conflict in my professional opinion? You know, that's a tough one. I hope nowhere. While, you know, Secretary Mattis and all of the generals talk about, you know, the best way to win a war, to prevent a war is to be prepared to win one. And I hope that strategy holds true. You could argue, based upon our national defense strategy, we assess North Korea, China, Iran, certainly with what's been happening in this arena. And I know all of you and Colonel Bailey and the team here at USAF are working hard to keep us from going to war with Russia. So I won't predict or project that where the next war will be. I'll just say I hope it'll be nowhere. Man, got a church fan back there.
Good afternoon, Chief. Senior Airman Day, 52nd Comptroller Squadron. I've been to a few professional development seminars on base and at other installations as well. How do you feel about the junior enlisted tier leading some professional development for their fellow airmen?
Oh man, I think it's fantastic. He asked, how do I feel about junior enlisted airmen leading professional enhancement seminars or professional development seminars, right?
Yes, sir.
I think it's great. So I don't think your ability to influence others, your ability to teach, your ability to motivate, encourage, and inspire someone is based on what's on your sleeve or what's on your shoulder. And so I've seen some phenomenal young first-term airmen who were great at teaching and motivating, and I've seen some old dusty chiefs like me that can't teach a lick. And so I think what the criteria to use for who should be able to teach these classes is, hey man, who's the most qualified? You know, there was a time when I was a master sergeant, and I had just come from being a PME instructor, and I had always been, at least I thought I was a halfway decent speaker. You know, I was in Toastmasters and all this good stuff, and I think I went to the CCF folks and said, hey, I'd like to be the speaker for the CCF graduation. She looked at my sleeve and she's like, no, we kind of reserve that for chiefs. Okay, no problem. I'll go on about my merry way. And then somehow I ended up being able to speak at, I was a mentor for the Airman Leadership School. Now I'm still a master sergeant, nothing has changed. And I got an opportunity to deliver a speech. And man, CCAF, would you mind being no. All right, so I know how it feels to be judged based on your rank or your age or whatnot, but I'd welcome our youngest airmen being able to teach, especially teaching their peers. There's a long way to get a microphone back there.
Hello, sir. Tech Sergeant Patton, 52nd Operations Support Squadron. So my question concerns the National Defense Strategy of 2018. It really focuses on joint interoperability with both our sister services and our allies. Right now, we are doing that. Our pilots are flying with other services a whole bunch, but we're not really getting that so much for the individual airmen on the ground. Where do you see the Air Force going as far as joint interoperability goes?
So the Air Force she asked about joint interoperability. The Air Force really, there's not one mission that we really execute alone in the Department of Defense. Think about any AOR that we're in, Africa, EUCOM, CENTCOM, PACOM. I mean, we're joined at the hip with all of our sister services, and in almost all cases with our coalition partners. So there already is, and while depending on the specific mission set, there may not be, for example, here with your SEED mission and some other things, there may not be that much interoperability. But across our Air Force, I feel pretty comfortable about how intertwined and how integrated we are with the other services. The area that we have to probably spend some time in is this multi-domain, the command and control aspect of joint warfighting, and as you know, that's one of the chiefs, one of my boss's key focus areas. So we'll keep working to integrate with the other services, coalition partners, and operating in air, space, cyber, ground, maritime, and really he considers undersea as even a separate domain from maritime. So. But as far as joint interoperability, I think we're doing pretty good. We'll continue to move forward in that area, so the future is bright. Probably a little bit more work to do on the enlisted side with developing joint leaders and really being able to track any joint experience that you have. Right now, we basically track it on your EPR or on a CERF. Unlike for our officer counterparts who have the Goldwater-Nichols Act and they're required to get some joint credit for advancement to certain levels, there really is no requirement as an enlisted person. You can be the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force and really have no joint experience or mostly anything else that you want to be in the United States Air Force. So I think we'll focus a little bit on improving how we track, because it's not that we don't have people working in the joint environment, we just don't do a good job of tracking. You could have asked me that question when you were squirting water on me and tossing me around over in AFE, Patton.
Sir? Afternoon, sir. Sergeant Lydic, OSS. Any thought on bringing back time in service and time in grade, factoring into WOPS?
Time in service, time in grade with WOPS. I know we've thought about it a little bit as we try to reform our performance management system and get us into a better place with WOPS. Time and grade has kind of come up. Should you receive credit for the amount of my only issue with time and grade, time and services actually is a difference between tenure and experience. So just because you've been at Spangdahlem for a long time doesn't necessarily mean that you have all this experience. Some people just hang out at a certain base, and some people just hang out at a certain rank. But so we'll continue to consider time and service, time and grade. All options are on the table, right? We want to get this right. There are not many things that we just rule out and say, hey, we'll never do that. And just like we ask you to be innovative and fail forward, we'll do the same thing. As we develop this system, we'll test it, and if it's not the right thing, if we don't have the right components, then we'll try something else, something new, and we'll keep working till we get it right. What we won't do is decide, hey, here's a new system. Yep, we know it's not working, but it's what we got, so I don't get it promoted anymore, so guess what? You guys got to suck it up and just get after it. So we won't do that. We'll keep all of you in mind because we're doing this for you, and we'll make sure that we have a system that works for all of our enlisted airmen. Somebody back there, question?
Sir, Sergeant Barner with the 52nd OSS Wing Weapons and Intel. The question I have for you specifically is there's a large mentality in the Air Force that if it's not broken, don't fix it, and they kind of fight against change. You've actually managed to implement a lot of change over the past year and a half that usually isn't implemented over like 10 or 20 years. And I just wanted to know how you did that, or how you and your team managed to do that.
I'm sorry, can you say your question again?
I just wanted to know specifically how you managed to implement so much change in 1.5 years, whereas it would take someone else at least a decade to implement as much change as you have, since there's so much change.
Oh, got it. I don't think it'll take anybody that much time, any more time than I did to make changes across our Air Force. Number one thing that I attribute our ability to get some things done in our Air Force in the last year and a half since I've been your chief is teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, man. I know it sounds corny, but having people on your team that all have the same interest, and that interest is making life better for you, it makes it so much easier. The second thing I would say is, my wife might disagree and probably does disagree, but I think I'm a pretty good listener. You know, I listen to your feedback. I listen to the things that you guys say that you need, and take a common sense approach to getting them done. And then the third thing that at least works for me is honey. Honey. You can catch more bees with honey than with vinegar, right? And so building the right relationships and making sure people understand that I don't want to be adversarial. I'm not so tied to any one thing. I'm never in a must-win, win-win situation, because there have been some things that I felt were very important that I tried to get across the finish line. And I felt some kind of way about it. I remained unemotional and said, hey, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. And that's just the way it goes, but you always maintain a healthy respect. Certainly, because when I'm trying to win some and as I'm losing some, man, I'm talking about with my teammates. This is not, I'm not fighting with Russia and China to try to get us a better promotion system or whatever. This is our team. And so having a great team of professionals around me that gives me good advice, being open to feedback, being open to being to know somebody telling me, hey, that's probably not a good idea. For example, you guys probably remember when we first changed the EPME, we had this thing called EPME 21, and we were going to have these PDUs. You remember that? You're like, that was so long ago, man. We got OCPs and we forgot all about all the other stuff. But anyway, so I thought, hey, it's a great idea. We had these PDUs, these requirements for you to do 24 hours of professional development every year. And then I got some questions, I got some feedback, and I said to myself, well, who's going to track this? And what system are we going to put it in? And how many chiefs, CNCOs are going to say, oh, you were supposed to get 24 PDUs and you only got 23? You won't be NCO of the quarter. You're not going to get DSD. You won't get this opportunity. You can't have breakfast with the chief. So I say, you know what? Man, forget that junk. Because I feel pretty confident, just like the young man stood up and said, hey, I've been to a PDS here and been to a PDS at many other bases, that from the time you sit in ALS and the time that you sit in NCO Academy, which in some cases can be 5, 6, 7 years, that something is happening during that time. You're not, most of us aren't just sitting around and our brains are frying. Folks are receiving degrees and certifications, and you're participating in exercises, and you're doing all kinds of things that are helping you to grow. And I'm satisfied that that's happening and that you're recording it on your EPRs and 1206s and whatnot. So I forgot actually what question I was answering to begin with. Yes, sir.
Sir, good afternoon. First Sergeant Rodney Allen from 110th Attack Wing, Battle Creek Air National Guard Base from Michigan. First of all, I'd like to thank Spangdahlem for welcoming us here, and also the time spent with Chief Panero and also Sergeant Williams. My question from a traditional standpoint with total force, as the decrease of active duty members have taken on and the increase of reserve and guard have increased to help the mission out along the years, what do you think is the benefit of being a traditional guardsman? And then also, what do you see coming down the years to come, a benefit or incentive to be a traditional guards person with the total force? Something that would instill members to stay in when we only do it part-time, where active duty does it all the time, and I have the opportunity of doing both. So what do you see as the benefit, and is there anything coming down the line that would be a benefit or incentive for a traditional guards person that has to deploy?
So when you say you're talking about a traditional guardsman who is a true part-time person. So I think there are great benefits to being a traditional guardsman. And I hope that someday, some of you who decide, especially at some of our younger airmen, who decide that, hey, active duty service is no longer for me, that you would opt for a continued career in the Air National Guard. Here's, at least from my perspective, so I've never been in the Guard or Reserve, but it makes perfect sense to me that, hey man, I have a profession, or I have kids that I want to raise, or I have other things that I want to do with the majority of my life, but I still want to serve. And so being a traditional guardsman where I can deploy for a specified period of time, where my employer will still help maintain my job, and on the weekends and a couple of times, or at least once a month, I can go out and be an airman again, or be an airman if I came in as a traditional guardsman. So I think there are tremendous benefits to both. I know some of our AGRs who spend extended time really almost as an active duty person. There are benefits to that as well. But we have the Guard and the Reserve for a reason, because those individuals like yourself and your teammates, you need the flexibility, you need the agility to serve when you can, and to do whatever it is you do for our nation when you're not serving. The days of, I don't think this was part of your question, but the days of this clear delineation between the Guard and Reserve and the active duty are really gone, right? There was a time, now let's be honest, right? You're a guardsman. There was a time when I could look around the room and be like, oh yeah, yeah, I know that's the guardsman over there. Yep, guardsman. You know, those days are gone. I mean, we've been deploying together and integrating together. I think TFI is a very real thing, total force integration. It works better in some places than in others. It's probably a shame that in some places it's really based on relationships, but hey, you know, that's part of the calculus. Again, just if you're asking me, I think there are lots of benefits to being a traditional guardsman. How are we doing on time, Chief? Good?
Sir, Senior Forbury.
48-year-old eyes, man. Ah!
Sir, Senior Forbury from 52nd MXS Aerospace Ground Equipment. How will the removal of certain career field CDCs affect promotion testing? Certain career field CDCs affect the promotion testing?
CDCs. Ah, okay. I don't know that, and you're Intel? Maintenance. Okay. I don't think it'll testing at all. So we do have some Intel bubbas in here, right? And so some of the Intel career fields have, I know the career field manager, Mark Allen, has removed CDCs, and then he's worked with our testing folks to make sure that airmen have the most current AFIs and other reference material that they need to study for promotion. So I don't know that it will necessarily affect your ability to get promoted, as long as when the CDCs are removed, you have whatever the current reference material, TOs, you know, whatever that you use now for promotion testing. And if it does, then I'm sure we'll get that feedback. And
Good afternoon, Chief. Over here, to your. Staff Sergeant Barber from 480th AMU Weapons. I'm a firm believer in physical fitness, and I believe everybody else should do it. But why, I was always curious, why is the waist measurement such a big component of the PT test?
Why is the waist measurement such a big component? You know, as I talk to, we have Dr. Baumgartner, who is responsible for our fitness testing program. And, you know, according to him, the abdominal circumference is a very important measure of, really, of health. And at one point I thought, then why don't we put it in a PHA? But he convinced me that it really does belong, and really in accordance with our DOD instruction, it really does belong in the fitness assessment. I'm supposed to meet with him the last week in August, so we can sit, do we have it right? One of the other areas of concern is the increments, the years, right? So if you're 40 or 49, you have the same requirements. If you're 30 or 39, the same requirements. There's been some discussion about breaking that into 5-year increments. And so along with the abdominal circumference, the frequency of how often we test, and those increments of, you know, who should have what requirements, we'll work through it and try to get it right.
Sir, Sergeant Heim from CPTS. I actually have a question also on the CDCs. So I'm in the middle, finished my 7-level CDCs, and my FSC is one of those that got the CDCs taken away. However, even though when I will be PDG only, and then afterwards I will have to do my CDCs again, I still have to complete myself, even though I'm never going to use these volumes again.
But it don't make sense to me. So, you know, I'll not just him, maybe and I meet with career field managers quarterly. And so the next time I sit down with them, maybe I'll just ask all of them to take a look at the processes that they have in place. Now, there may be a legitimate reason that they want all of you to continue and finish out those CDCs to obtain your 5-level and whatnot. And sometimes, you know, I remember when I was a young airman staff sergeant, there was a lot of things that happened in the Air Force that I just couldn't understand. I couldn't fathom and understand why we were doing it, whether there was a good reason or not. So there may be a good reason that it's designed that way. I can't say that I understand it right now, at least as you described it, but I'll ask your career field managers to take a look at how they execute all of those programs as they attempt to move away from CDCs. You know, one of the problems with, and why a lot of the career fields are moving away from CDCs is because it's so hard to keep them up to date with current information, with the rules in ATC and how often they get looked at, and how often changes can be put into CDCs. It becomes very, very challenging to have the most up-to-date information in your career development courses. So.
Sir, Senior Flag, Ammo Flight. I was just wondering, I know we allow females to get out after giving birth. I was wondering if there was any confirmation on whether we're going to start allowing the spouses to get out instead. Some people want to be stay-at-home caregivers rather than the female or may outrank the other personnel in the family. Has there been any thought in that?
I didn't quite understand the question. I didn't quite hear the question, I'm sorry.
So we allow females out after giving birth, the opportunity. Are we going to allow the other spouse the same opportunity to get out rather than the one that gave birth? Are you going to allow? Yeah,
good question. So when a couple has a child, currently we allow the female to separate from service if they like. Is there any discussion of, example, say if I had a child and my wife wanted to be the one to get out so that I can continue to serve and we keep our family together, I think we should be allowed to do that. So again, one of those things I hate to keep referring back to, We're doing the data, we're trying to get some research, we're trying to get it through the wickets. As you can imagine, all these things that these are things that have really never been done in our Air Force. Now, not that groundbreaking, but they've just never been done. And so, as you can imagine, there is a lot of resistance in a lot of areas to, hey, that doesn't make sense because I've never seen it. And that doesn't make sense because, in my opinion, it's gonna this or that. And so this idea of, in our Air Force, there is this frozen middle, right? So you guys come up with all the great ideas. Even me being part of little leadership say, yep, we think it's great, go forth. There's a group of, between you and I, that says, well, wait a minute, let me look at this and make sure it makes sense. And in 1981, this is what we were doing, so I don't see how this makes sense.
Sir, Airman Styles from the 52nd OSS. Sir, my question is about the EPR for Airmen. Do you see it going away from like a bullet format to a more like just a standardized sentence at all?
Styles, did you put that suit on me earlier?
I did, sir, yes.
So before I got here, I was over in OSS, and they have just the neatest way to immerse you into what they do. So they put me in a flight suit and a jacket and a helmet, and pretended like I was flying, shot me down, got me wet, threw me in a life raft.
Sorry, sir, they made me do it.
Taken by hostage and all this other stuff. But Styles was part of that. So, but thank you for that. No, we're not going back to narrative. When I first came in, my EPR, if you read it, it's in narrative format, a big long paragraph. It's got my name in this paragraph at least 7 times. A1C Wright did this, A1C Wright didn't do that, A1C Wright, could be better, blah, 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 blah. I don't think the bullets themselves, the format of having a bullet is the problem. The problem is people like me, like the chief, like the colonel, all these senior leaders who are so about how a bullet can be, how much space you must use, and how it is blasphemy to have one bullet with ellipses and then the next bullet have the semicolon. Because someday when we pull this stuff back out and we need to make on whether you should get promoted or do DSD or become an officer, if all of the lines don't have ellipses, I don't know that I can actually make a good decision. If there's space left at the end of one of your bullets, I'm not sure you're the right person for this job. Right? So really what we need to do is get back to the basics, substance over style, write down what the person did. Because we're worried about spacing and stuff, it causes us to put unnecessary words. So, and I used to do this, right? Because it was part of the game. You end up with a space at the end and you think to yourself, he not only trained people, he expertly trained. Boom, money, right? So I think, this is a leadership and culture issue, the way that we write, and, let's get down to the nitty gritty. I mean, we spent a lot of time. We got a suggestion, I think it was yesterday, about as opposed to going through, and I think this is something maybe that the Army does, as opposed to going through that whole thing with decorations, and it has to be lined up, and it has to be, blocked out, and all the lines, and da-da-da-da-da. Once we determine that the person is worthy of a decoration, because you have to do it anyway. You have to highlight whatever bullets on the EPR that are going to decoration. Highlight the bullets, put something that says, yep, this person was a decoration on top of it, boom, put it in the file, but, One more, we got time for one more question. Make it a good one.
Chief, Senior Sergeant Donovan, over the last several years, we've had a lot of changes with DME, EPME, all that stuff going back and forth. The question I have, I've seen over the years, is we do Senior NCO Academy for Senior Master Sergeants. We don't do it for Masters. We do NCO Academy for Tech Sergeants. We don't do it for Staff Sergeants. Any thoughts of maybe moving everything back to an NCO academies for a young NCO staff sergeant, senior NCO academy for a young master sergeant, instead of waiting for them to be 8 years in a master rank, then make senior, then they get to go?
Yeah. So right now, our current construct and where we want to be with PME is your first level of enlisted PME ALS is designed to teach us a senior airman how to be an NCO, how to be a staff sergeant. In most cases, your responsibilities, now you might change jobs or whatnot, but your NCO responsibilities as a staff sergeant, a tech sergeant, don't change that much. The things that we ask you to do, leading airmen, maybe leading a small team, they don't change that much. So we believe that preparation in ALS prepares you for just that first line level of supervision. The NCO Academy is designed to teach a tech sergeant how to be a senior non-commissioned officer. And so same thing. We don't believe that the difference in your role and responsibility as a master sergeant and a senior master sergeant are really that, not that much space in between what you do in those two roles. And then the senior NCO Academy, and this is where we have a little bit of a disconnect. The senior NCO Academy really should be teaching senior master sergeants how to be chiefs. We're a little bit behind in that arena because the majority of folks right now who are in our senior NCO Academy are master sergeants. We do get some seniors in there, but it's basically a master sergeant school at this point. And so then you might ask, well, what's the chief leadership course for? Right now, it's kind of designed to teach all of our brand new chiefs how to be a chief, but I don't think we need it for that. So I'm of the mindset that we have some other methods and some other means to prepare a chief select to be able to do what they need to do as a chief. And then we take chief leadership course and we make it our premier PME opportunity for designated chiefs, the chiefs that we highlight and think will go on to do bigger and better things in the Air Force. So I would agree we need a little bit of reform in how we do our PME. We got a great team down there now. Chief Master Sergeant Todd Simmons, who is the Air University Command Chief, and Chief Tom Stiles, who is taking over the Senior NCO Academy Chief Leadership course, EPMIC, and all that good stuff. All right, we're out of time. It's Friday. You ain't got no job. Let me just reiterate, how important it is for me to be able to come out and see you face to face. To see what you do for our nation, to see the sacrifices you make. It only validates for me my role and responsibility in making life better for you. If I sat in the Pentagon all day dreaming up ideas and complaining about, how much feedback you give and, what I think you need, I wouldn't be doing my job. I would not be fulfilling my responsibility to each one of you. I honestly, I feel bad. I was out with the MSG team today and the IRF guys, and everybody was standing around in the hot sun, waiting on me to come through and see what they do. I honestly feel bad that when myself or any other official comes to visit you, we pull you away from the training or what the important things that you guys are doing. So I don't take that for granted. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunities that you provide us to be able to get a little bit hands-on. But I tell you, man, it just validates for me that I have to work hard. I have to give everything that I have to make life better for you. I appreciate you. I want you to have a good weekend. And on behalf of my wife, Tanya, and I, we want to say thank you to Sabre Nation. Thank you.